how to buy rental property. If you are living in the Seattle area, you've probably seen the explosion of property values that we've had over the past 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and 40 years. I have lived here all my life, and my parents sold their apartment building early on when I was a baby. And ever since then, the real estate market has been growing by leaps and bounds. I wish they would have held on to it, but they did great with that property. And the real estate market has just been very strong ever since. There is not a lot of cash flow here, but what we do have is appreciation. So buying a rental property in an appreciating market is a different strategy than buying one that is just for cash flow. And it takes some money to get into the game, which is why a lot of investors are afraid to get started. But today we're going to talk about how to buy a rental property here in the Shoreline area or the greater Seattle area, Puget Sound, what to look for, what I see other investors doing here, and what I recommend.
This is Emily Cressy, your digitally enabled Puget Sound community advisor.
Hi, this is Emily Cressy. I have been investing in real estate for 18 years, and I started off in North Carolina where I went to college, and things cash flowed there. You could rent out a house for $100,000. You could buy a house for $100,000 and rent it out for about $1,000 per month, which is called the 1% rule. That's what it takes to get a property that's likely to cash flow. Here in the Shoreline area, you could rent out a house for $200,000. You could rent a house for $2,000 a month, but it's not going to take $200,000 to purchase it. It's going to be more like $600,000. So this is not the 1% rule. We're getting about a third of the cash flow that we need in order to actually have positive cash flow. So in addition to buying a rental property with a large down payment, it takes a big down payment sometimes if you're buying a non-owner occupied property that costs $600,000. But there's also a monthly investment needed as well to offset the negative cash flow. Now, in your rental, the negative cash flow can go away over time, potentially, as rents increase, but we're so far behind the 8 ball, I would not put that expectation into your model. I would say I'm going to buy and hold. I'm going to set aside this $1,000 a month or whatever it is that you need to carry this property indefinitely. And I'm going to have an extra fund for expenses, those capital improvements like replacing the roof, replacing the siding, replacing the furnace, all the things that tend to wear out and go wrong eventually. And I'm also going to have a maintenance budget. So when the tenants leave, then we're going to need to do paint and carpet. We're going to need to pay a month of vacancy while we get the thing repaired and get another tenant in there. What if we have to evict them and it takes 2 or 3 months of non-payment to get them out? Seattle does have some very pro-tenant laws. So if you're going to be managing your property yourself, you need to be aware of those. I have very gladly given up managing my property myself. I do not like property management. And I find that the thing that I like best is the chase, the thrill of the hunt and acquiring the property. But then I want to back burner it, set it up with a great property manager and not worry about it anymore, just watch it grow. So that's my personal preference. If you are a hands-on type of person, if you're handy, you can do some of those repairs. If you're good with people, you can manage the tenants. Don't let them push you around. Make sure you do that background check. But if you do those things, you can save yourself some money. If you are paying for property management, expect about 10% of gross rents. So if you're bringing in $2,000 a month in rent, you're going to pay $200 a month for the property manager. And yes, most of the months there's not a lot to do, but some of the months there is. And do you want to do it? And I have spent my time cleaning dirty diapers out of the carpet and refrigerators that have had the electricity go out and all the food rotted, and cat litter boxes that have been full of poop and left out in the rain. I have had my time doing property management and I didn't like it, and I probably wasn't good at it at all. So I don't do that anymore, and I work the numbers so that I can maintain my quality of life and just put in money and write checks rather than dealing with the people. But if you're just getting started or you don't have a lot of cash, then doing things yourself is a great way to learn the business. And also, if you eventually do hire those things out, you'll know what you're looking for in terms of somebody that can get the job done and what it's actually going to take. So when you look at how to buy your first rental property, those are some things to keep in mind as far as your strategy goes. Now, when you're actually ready to look, the first thing that you need to do is to decide on a location. If you're looking here in the Seattle area, you will have the greatest appreciation potential, typically, historically, is going to be closer to downtown Seattle. People like to get in there for the commute, getting closer to work. Now, I don't know if that will change, if more people are starting to work from home and remote working is more of a thing, but historically, closer to downtown, Green Lake, Ballard, Capitol Hill, those core areas tend to see the most appreciation. Queen Anne is another fantastic one. Of course, it's going to cost money. You gotta go in with $1 million or $2 million to get into a location like that sometimes. So that's why people start looking farther out. I've seen in Everett, I did an open house at a historic home that was beautiful. It was a 3-bedroom home, very nicely maintained, very clean inspection, and this home went for about $400,000. And as I was calling through the neighbors, talking to them about the open house, looking for buyers and that type of thing, I ran into a gentleman on the phone who actually lives in California and has a number of rentals in Everett in that area. And he says he typically buys them for around $400,000 and rents them out for about $2,000 a month. And then he has his son who lives in Snohomish to manage the properties for him. So that's how he does that. And of course, we would still expect to see appreciation in Everett, but not as much as closer into the city. The nice thing about Everett is that there's going to be a better cash flow situation. And Shoreline, of course, being in between downtown Seattle and Everett, we would expect to see numbers in between those. The thing that I have noticed is that the rental amounts, $2,000 a month. Oh, my cat is with me now. Hello. The rental amounts don't fluctuate as much as the purchase prices. So better cash flow further out, weaker cash flow, but more appreciation potential down toward the city. So number one is to take a look at your location. And then number two, of course, is to look at your budget. So a lot of times these, like I said, as an investment property in particular, you're going to need to be able to have some cash to go in with. The lenders are not typically as lenient with something that's going to be not owner occupied. You need to have a little bit better income, a little bit more of a down payment. I typically put 10% down to 20% down depending on what's going on with the property and the loan and those types of things. You'll have to pay more interest, higher interest rate, and PMI, which is private mortgage insurance, if you are going into something that's, my cat made me lose my train of thought. You will have to pay higher interest and more PMI, which means more negative cash flow. But if that saves you $50,000 up front, it's probably going to be worth it when you look at calculating your rate of return. Landlord-tenant laws, you need to learn about that and make sure that you're managing the property and you have a lease and the paperwork in the context of the location that you're renting in. And then you have an exit strategy, and ideally more than one exit strategy. So if you hold this thing for 10 years, you're sitting on $500,000 in equity. What is the plan at that point? Are you going to sell the property and just cash out and have a nice amount of cash for your retirement? Are you going to refinance the property, which means you're getting a bigger loan on the property so you have access to the cash, but you still own the property and you still have to make payments on that? So a lot of people do that, refinance and pull out and use that cash to go buy a different property. Some people invest in their retirement account, so they might actually use their 401k. You can do a self-directed IRA to access the money that you saved for retirement if you want to place it in a real estate investment. They have specific custodians who do that rather than just the, Charles Schwab or Vanguard or somebody who would typically manage your retirement account and put everything in stocks. So there are a lot of different things you can do. The key is to get started and to build a strategy around it. Once you've decided to do it, we can help you do it. And maybe it's even a mobile home. You can buy a mobile home here for $175,000, and let's see what that'll rent out for. There's lots of different ways to be creative. I have personally done a lot of investing out of state. So when I was not in a cash position to be able to put $150,000 into one house, not even like an apartment bill, I could buy an 8-unit apartment building in Mobile, Alabama for $600,000. It's not going to appreciate like a $600,000 property here in Seattle, but at least it would cash flow and it would be able to pay for itself. So my strategy has been a little bit more conservative in buying smaller properties that can afford to pay for themselves. So I've done that elsewhere. And if you would like some referrals to different markets that I'm looking in and different agents that I use there, I'd be happy to help you with that too. So I actually get a referral fee if I connect you with an agent out of state. So just keep that in mind. Pay it forward, right? So I would love to help you in whatever kind of way you need, and even if that's talking you out of doing a real estate investment at this time, it's not for everyone, and depending on your financials and your family situation, it may not be the best choice for you. I also put a lot of money into the stock market, and that's certainly easier, and it's certainly been doing well, but I love real estate, and that's where my heart is, and I've invested there, like I said, since I graduated from college. So let's talk about it. Let's get together. Give me a call, give me an email, visit my website, send me a private message, give me a comment, whatever you like. Feel free to get in touch and reach out. Again, my name is Emily. I'm here in the Shoreline area of Washington. I'm a real estate broker. I am licensed throughout Washington state, and I am happy to help you get started on your real estate investment journey.